Hey guys, welcome back. I wanted to do a quick follow-up video about what happened during my layoff, how my family handled it, and some strategies I used to land the job quickly. And yes, I did land the job, so I wanted to share some strategies and some things that worked for me in a humble manner because I'm not someone that's really good at marketing myself. So I hope that what I shared today can be helpful for some of you guys who are unfortunately going through the same thing. Before I jump in, I wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who commented, whether it was advice, suggestions, or even criticism, because words are powerful and they help me see things from a different angle. And some of you guys even reached out to me on Instagram and shared your life stories with me. So that really means a lot. I learned a lot from you guys. And some of you guys even reached out to me on email. Someone that stood out to me was a 72-year-old grandpa who is retired from the military, and I can tell that his best interest was in me finding another position. So and we're strangers, complete strangers, and for someone to do that, it really means a lot, and that was really touching. So thank you guys all so much. So a quick recap on what happened. On New Year's Eve, I got a call from my boss saying that he was sorry to have to let me go, which is not exactly how I wanted to end my year. But after 7 years at the company, I was given a 2-week notice and a 2-week severance pay. And that part kind of stung, devoting 7 years of my life to a company and all I get was 2 weeks of severance pay. But given the company's struggles, I know that there were several months of delayed payroll to another department. And so I didn't want to fight it, and really I had no other choice. Telling my wife was one of the hardest parts. She was shocked, but before I could even reassure her, she reassured me, saying that we could get through this together because we have each other. And that moment right there was why I married her. I mean, I knew that she was a good woman, which is why I married her, but hearing her saying that when it actually mattered, that gave me a whole new level of appreciation and love for her. As a lot of you guys know, one good thing about getting laid off is you have a lot of time to think and reflect on your life and your career. For the first time in 7 years, I was able to go get some brunch with my wife on a weekday without the kids. That was a treat in and of itself. As we were talking, one thing we realized was that we are not the master of our own lives. You can do everything right, make good money, save money, build multiple income streams, and make sure that you're in good hands at all times. But life still happens. Companies fail, markets crash, and natural disasters happen. That recent fire in LA, which is right down the street, figuratively, that fire destroyed their houses in a matter of hours, and there was nothing that they could have done. So instead of trying to control every little thing about our lives, we can focus on what we can control, which is being thankful for what we have today, planning for the future, but not at the expense of living in the present. That's not to say that planning for the future is a bad thing. That's always a good thing. But a lot of times we do inflict pain on ourselves by worrying too much about the future. Financially, the layoff hit us pretty hard. I was just barely making 6 figures, and here in California, that doesn't go very far. And my wife, although she's a PhD candidate, she chose to stay home and raise our kids, which I fully supported because I don't think I could raise our kids like she can. So that meant that we are a single income family, and that was hard. Now let's get into applying for jobs, because I know this can be very overwhelming. The day I got laid off, I updated my resume and I applied for about 20 jobs. And 3 weeks in, I applied for a total of 70 jobs. The biggest tool for me was LinkedIn. If you're job hunting, I can't stress this enough. Use LinkedIn, make sure your profile is up to date, and make sure to mark yourself as open to work. And because I did that, a lot of recruiters reached out to me with some openings, and that is, I think, the best way to get an interview. Out of the 70 jobs that I applied to, about 90% were an exact match for my skill set, and about 10% was kind of a stretch, but I still wanted to apply because I liked the company. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I got so many rejections. I think about half of them rejected me. But thankfully, in my first week of applying, I got 2 interviews. One of them actually ghosted me. So really, it was just one. This was a big company in the food manufacturing business, and even though they had about 700 plus million in revenue, their tech department was still growing. The first call was from an HR person. She told me a bit about the company. She outlined the position and the salary range and the work hours, and she answered some of my general questions about the company. And all of that checked out for me, so I agreed to do a real interview with my would-be boss. So a couple days later, I did the second interview, and it was a very chill and relaxed environment. She was very kind, super nice. She asked me questions about my past role, why I'm looking for a new role, and to that I was very honest. I just said our company wasn't doing too well, so I got laid off. But I did emphasize that in the beginning, when I first started, we had like 10 project managers and 50 developers, and by the time I was laid off, I was the only project manager, and we had like 20 developers. So I think that kind of showed that the layoff wasn't something that's my fault, and I made sure to highlight that. She did ask me specifically about one thing on my resume, which was something about achieving 99% error-free process in the last role. So I told her my approach. Without getting too technical, my approach was first fix the problem with the temporary solution, and then later implement a permanent solution so that it never happens again. And she really seemed to like that answer. At the end of the interview, she said that she'll discuss with her boss and get back to me after a couple days. And so after a couple days, I got another interview with the higher up. That was also very low pressure. It wasn't a technical interview at all. There was no technical interview in this process. I think the field that I'm in, the specific field that I'm in, it's not so technical. It's more like about your experience and how you handle new problems. So on the last interview with the higher up, instead of grilling me with questions, he told me about the company and their, I guess, direction. And it was just a discussion to see if I was a good fit for the role and for the company. I did ask some questions about process improvement, just to show that I'm not there just to do like grunt work, just to do mundane work, but that I actually care and I'm looking to add some value to the company. And then a few days later, I got a call from the HR person again, and she told me that I got the job. But here is an important tip. You always have to negotiate. So during my first interview with the HR, she gave me like a salary range, and their offer was at the very top end of the salary range. So at first it seemed like there wasn't really no room for negotiation. But after doing some calculations about our budget and things like that, it was a little short. So I did try to negotiate, and I asked for about 6% more, and they agreed. So even if they offer the max, you can always negotiate and try your luck. So as I mentioned previously, this is a food industry company, and they have about 65% market share, which is shocking because I've never heard of this company. But it's one of those companies that make food for other companies, and they get branded as that other company. Even though they do have their own brands, most of their product line is for other companies. But compared to their $700 million plus revenue, their tech department is still growing because it's a very old company and a lot of people do things the old way, and now they are trying to ramp up technologically. There's a lot of growth in this field, and I'm very glad to be a part of that growth. And at the time of this recording, it's been about 2 weeks since I started. I have done nothing but just meet and greet, like face to face with a lot of people. Oh, and it is remote, so a lot of Teams meeting. It's not anything work related, it's just getting to know the company, getting to know people. And they gave me a lot of opportunities to ask questions about my role and their role and the company as a whole. So I really like this culture, and a lot of people actually told me that I can schedule a call anytime with the CEO of the company and he would just talk with me. So I think that's kind of the culture that they're trying to make, and so I really like that about this company. So if you're going through a layoff right now, I hope that this video gives you some hope, because I don't have an impressive resume, or my experience isn't that crazy. So focus on what you can control, lean on your support system, those around you, and keep pushing forward. But anyways, I have a lot more to say, but I don't want to make like a 1-hour video about how to find a job. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, or even reach out to me on Instagram if you don't want to share your worries or other things like that with the world. I'll be more than happy to have a chat with you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.